Hey everyone, welcome to Indie Film Grit, a podcast about indie films and indie filmmakers. I am your host, Timothy Patrick, but you can call me Tim. In this episode, I talk with Sherman Allen. He's been acting in TV and film since he got his SAG card in 1983, and nowadays, he's busier than ever. We talk about his roles on shows like Better Call Saul and Longmire, and we also touch on his upcoming film, Soldado, which is a follow-up to the Oscar-nominated Sicario. Let's get into it. And here we are with Sherman Allen. Sherman, how are you?
Man, I'm great, Tim. I really dig your show. I think it's a good thing you're doing, and you do it very well. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure to have you on today and talk about all the things that you have done over your career. To call you just an actor is kind of limiting.
Yeah, you probably, I'm not famous, so I don't really expect people to know a lot of this stuff about me. But I'm also a guitar player, good enough to have made a living at it from time to time. I'm not the best, but I can get by.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've seen you play at the Cat and Fiddle, I think it was.
Cat and the Fiddle, God, dog, that was a while ago.
Yeah, I was there.
That was a fun scene. That's back when there was a music business. Some of you may remember that. I grew up in Texas, and I figured out early on that acting was my life's goal. But I grew up in a time and a place where everybody played guitar, man. Dallas in the 1970s was the big guys played football, and guys my size played guitar. It was the only chance you had with chicks. I mean, music's great too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I grew up watching, Stevie Ray Vaughan and Bugs Henderson and a lot of brilliant guitar, Jimmy Vaughan, and on. I could name a dozen of them. And it was just a really great, and the drinking age was 18 then. So you could get into nightclubs at a really young age for like $1 to see the best music ever. Anyhow, I'm an actor who also plays guitar well enough to truly get by. I mean, I can jump up with pros and not embarrass myself. So I got to say, I'm in my 50s now, and my dream job is still to have an acting gig where at some point I pick up a guitar and show that I can really do it. That would be like the ego rush of all time.
Yeah.
Hadn't happened yet. We'll see.
Well, it's funny how so many creative people and performers cross over from acting to music and music to acting. It happens all the time.
Well, the old saying is movie stars all want to be rock stars and vice versa. And I was with his name's going to come up in this interview. I'm very close with Lou Diamond Phillips, and I'm not being cute. Known him my whole life, and we're still close. He's the reason I'm here in Santa Fe in the film business, actually. When Lou was among the most famous movie stars in the world, I'm talking about like 1990, coming off of La Bamba and Young Guns and Stand and Deliver and so on. We were living in Hollywood, and he had entree to anything. And I will always remember John Entwistle, Ox, the bass player for The Who.
Oh, wow.
Kind of glomming onto us at a table in the China Club and really just kind of falling at Lou's feet.
Huh.
And Lou said, "Yeah, but you're a rock star, man." And Entwistle goes, "Yeah, but you get to play with guns." Real jealous of that.
Yeah, well, Lou Diamond pulled it off, right? With Your Dream. He got to rock out and act in La Bamba.
Yeah, he did, and it was really Los Lobos doing the music, but this was during the height of MTV, and so it was an A movie. It was beautifully filmed, La Bamba, and before the movie was even released, like in the days leading up to it, you could see Los Lobos in these videos from the movie and Lou lip syncing all on MTV, and it was just like this explosion of fame and music and fun. And I always in Dallas was a medium guitar player, but a pretty good actor compared to the competition. So I could always get work acting in my hometown of Dallas. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, 10 billion actors and not many people who played guitar the way I play guitar. It was
Right.
in Los Angeles then and now. It was focused on like studio perfection and really fast scale runs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I play more. My playing sounds like, you know, a batch of barbecued ribs, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was able to sort of punch above my weight musically in Los Angeles. I ended up recording with Melissa Etheridge and playing live with Steve Lukather and a lot of other people, and it's really fun. And now I'm in Santa Fe, working more in what I hope we're going to talk about some on this is in the indie film business. And my special love these days is cable TV. I just think that's where the sweet spot is between having a nice budget. Here's a stinger for your show. The difference between indie film and big budget filmmaking. In one, I'm changing my clothes in a trailer with a PA bringing me breakfast, and in the other, I'm changing my clothes standing in a parking lot between two parked cars. And
Right.
that's really in a nutshell what it is. I've just come off of about 8 months of work on both sides of the camera for Get Shorty and for Longmire here in Santa Fe.
Yeah, Longmire. That is such a interesting story with the fan support and the canceling.
Yeah, it's rare. It got dropped after season 3, and the fan backlash was huge. And there was some behind the scenes politics, no doubt about it. But the good side of the behind the scenes stuff is the show was extremely healthy. The cast all got along. There was nobody drunk or angry or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
any foolishness that can kind of sink a ship otherwise. And we were able to crank out 60 minutes in 8 days. I'm sorry, 7-day show. And Longmire was notorious for being just logistically kind of impossible. We would do 5 moves a day, Tim, 5 a day, and that's 30 trucks from passenger vans to 48-footers and shorty 40s, and
that's a ton of setups.
I couldn't count the setups, but you know, five moves.
Damn.
And we're trying to get, but the show, what happened was the show went to 60 minutes. It used to be a 42-minute show for 3 years on AMC.
Mm-hmm.
I beg your pardon, A&E. I worked on Better Call Saul on AMC, and I get them mixed up sometimes.
Yeah, so many good things you worked on, man. I want to hear about them all.
Well, you know, so yeah, I was in the cast of Longmire, and I played a bad guy. They put me in jail, and now that the show's off the air forever, presumably, I guess I'm going to stay in jail. They're never letting Fiend the pharmacist out. But I loved the show so much, and I wasn't acting enough to pay all my bills. I'm a single dad, that I got my Teamster card, and now I work driving in films and TV shows when I'm not getting acting work and audition. I've had 3 auditions this month via self-tape. That's becoming more the way. You know, I'm able to shoot myself in a house in Santa Fe, and it ends up going to a thumbnail there in Los Angeles where you are. And you know, sometimes I book them, sometimes I don't.
Is there a difference between auditioning for a cable show versus a network show, or is it all basically the same process?
That's a great question. The thing I notice, I mean, I audition like I audition.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Thelonious Monk had a line that's kind of a North Star to me. He said, "The genius is the one who is most like himself." So as a musician and as an actor, I try to truly, truly, truly be honest and alive in that second when you're performing. It's a separate part of the brain. Performers know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to be thinking the right thing at the perfect moment.
Mm.
And so that's kind of in an audition. The way I gauge whether it went okay afterwards is whether I gave the audition that I hoped to give. That's really the only thing that I have to live with. Mm-hmm. But to your question, there's an extra layer of hassle with the big networks. And I've never, I don't think, been on NBC or CBS or ABC or Fox. I've come close. But I can tell you that your audition gets sent to another layer of, let's call them suits, in Los Angeles or New York, who have to sign off on the casting decision. And I don't know if that has cost me work, because I just wouldn't be privy to that information.
Right. Let me ask you about acting, and maybe it's a personal question, but what is the best part about acting for you, emotionally or performance wise? What gives you the most kick?
It's a great question, Tim.
Oh, thank you.
Well, who said that, talking about acting is like dancing about architecture? It's its own thing. Acting is a thing, like music.
Mm-hmm.
You can describe the singing of Ray Charles, or you can listen to the singing of Ray Charles. It's two different things. And to be in a scene that's grooving and to supply a magic ingredient that lifts up the scene and has the writer and the director. Lou calls it the look. It's when they yell cut, and whoever, the casting director, the director, gives you the look, like, I did not see that coming. Wow.
Right.
That's kind of the best. That moment when you get the look, when you go, yep, kind of nailed the shit out of that, didn't I? It's a great feeling, because not everybody can do that.
Right. And I'm sure sometimes the camera guys have tears in their eyes. It's so good.
It's a weird. It's harder than it looks, man. To stand on the X with a camera pointed at you and 20 people running around and all kind of bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
to have a tender little vulnerable moment that serves the story. I said earlier something like I audition. I've got this thing, I've got this way of being in a scene that is sort of a dog whistle, and I put it out there, and some people absolutely love the way I audition and act, and some people don't get it at all. I just went through a rather difficult thing on set on a big movie,
Mm-hmm.
where the director kept saying, be authoritative. And I'm thinking to myself, going, I've met some of the most powerful people you'd ever want to meet, and they wear T-shirts and they're looking down at their iPhones. They're not
Right.
They're not Charlton Heston in the 1950s, with that phony authoritativeness. So it's a hard needle to thread, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. That's the other thing, is sometimes you'll get a job that pays thousands of dollars, you get a trailer, and you go home at the end of the day and you want to slit your throat.
Right. And how much of it is in the eyes itself? Like, I can feel in myself, I don't do much acting at all, but when you're happy, I'm Irish. They say when Irish eyes are smiling, there you can literally smile with your eyes and turn on that twinkle and or that rage. A lot of it's in the eyes. Do you focus on that a lot, or is it more of a all-encompassing thing?
God, that's a perceptive thing to say. I've never had this conversation, but yeah, man. When I'm in a scene with you and it's a 2 and we're in profile,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pick one eye or the other to look at for various reasons. It is part of the little secret tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is helping feed the other actor. My favorite, I think Lou just absolutely crushed this Henry Standing Bear for 6 years on Longmire.
Oh yeah.
But there's one scene with this little old Indian woman who's telling him a story where Lou's eyes bug out for a minute, like she said something completely unexpected, and it kind of knocks him off his chair. It was one of the great moments of acting I've ever seen in my life. And it's really nothing except him kind of going, boom. It's like, I didn't expect this little old broad to say that. But it's a magic, if anybody could do it, we'd all have a mansion in Pacific Palisades.
Right. Yeah, and they say acting for camera, it's a lot of small movements, obviously, opposed to stage.
Of course, you have to size the performance, and not only that, but I will quietly try to get, when I'm in an office auditioning, where are you cutting me? You cutting me at the waist? You cutting me at the elbows? Are you cutting me at the bottom of my chin? I need to know that. Now that's a dangerous thing in the wrong hands, but I've been auditioning a long time, and it helps me without creating problems, I hope, on a good day. But I choke sometimes. I choke sometimes. And I choke with my guitar in front of an audience sometimes. This is not a static, fixed thing. You're being alive in the moment, and Sometimes it goes great, sometimes it doesn't. And I'll tell you, that's one thing I do not like about. I've straddled. I got my SAG card in 1983, and
Wow.
I'd been acting almost 10 years by then. So I've seen it go from film to digital. And they used to treat film stock like diamonds. I mean, they would rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and then
Mm-hmm.
shoot a little bit. And nowadays they'll shoot 1,000 takes, and nobody, not Meryl Streep, not Nicholson, nobody has 1,000 perfect takes in them. So I know there's
Right.
shitty takes of me floating out there, and well, we can't use takes 4 through 12 because there was a red car in the background. We didn't notice that on the day. So things get edited out for everything but performance reasons, and it's kind of cruel. It's an unfortunate development of modern filmmaking is just the limitless number of takes. It doesn't cost anything to shoot an extra 50 takes.
The love for Hollywood and film and TV, it just kind of oozes out of you or radiates from you. You just love the business.
I do. Can I talk about a script that I'm selling right now or trying to sell?
I would love to hear about your script. Yeah.
It just occurred to me one day that when I was a child, say 1970, I was already a TV nut, even as a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
I would see people like Bob Hope, Jack Benny, George Burns, Jimmy Durante, and they were not funny. They just weren't funny.
Right.
And I'm like, why are these guys world famous when they don't have no chops?
Right. Huh.
And well, I'm older now, and now I understand. Oh, I was seeing them when they were 70 years old. Of course they weren't on fire. If I'm 70 years old and I'm Jack Benny or George Burns and I'm living on Roxbury, and I get a call saying, hey, you want to come down and do the Glenn Campbell show and take a pie in the face for $5,000? Sure. Yeah, why not?
Right.
And really, we're talking about old Jewish comedians who'd eat a bowl of soup and go to bed. They weren't Jim Morrison. They weren't, dying of drugs in their 20s.
Right.
And so that world became fascinating to me. This sort of the last surviving vaudevillians living into the era of crap variety show TV. And I called my pal Miguel Ferrer. He's a very beloved character actor. He died of cancer 6 months ago, and he was best man at my wedding. We were, very close. And I called him when I had the idea that I just told you, and he said, yeah, Sherm, you need a task that these old farts are uniquely qualified to solve. I don't know if it's a crime. I don't know what to tell you on that. Well, I had been really fascinated with the O.J. Simpson case 20 years ago, and I thought, that's what I'll do. I'll create an O.J. Simpson type murder scandal in the 1950s, and in the 1970s, have these old farts be front and center on reopening of that case. So that's what it's about.
I like it.
And I ended up connecting with the funniest human being I've ever known, a guy named Tom Leopold. He was a writer for Seinfeld and for Cheers. He's still a writer.
Oh, wow.
And his best friends are, like, I'm close with Lou. His pals are Paul Schaefer and the Spinal Tap guys, all three of them. Mike McMahon, and Harry Shearer and Chris Guest. And Tom Leopold, they've known each other a million years. So Tom was nice enough to let me send him the script because he shares my obsession with this kind of shitty era in show business around 1970 when they were repackaging old farts like we talked about.
Yeah.
He loves this stuff. He made a joke in a novel that I just read by Tom Leopold called Milton Marty about B.S. Pulley. I bet $100 you can't tell me who B.S. Pulley is, Tim. Do you know who that is?
No, I wouldn't even try.
Yeah, right. Have you ever seen Guys and Dolls, the Marlon Brando, Frank Sinatra Guys and Dolls from the 50s?
Yes.
Okay. B.S. Pulley is the guy with a voice like that who scares him into giving him all that dough. I got a perfect 33 arrests and no conviction. He was this filthy comedian like Red Fox and Lenny Bruce and stuff back in the day. And so Tom made this joke about B.S. Pulley, and I think I'm in love with this guy. Nobody, but that joke is for 6 people on planet Earth, and I'm one of them. So he's been kind enough to say, yeah, I'll help you with structure, I'll help you with jokes, and what I'm kind of thinking now, Tim, is what I've got is a feature script, 100 pages, 110-page comedy, something like that. And I'm really now thinking of limited series. I really think that's the best stuff right now.
TV today, obviously, they say it's the golden age of TV right now, right? big
Sure.
film stars are now going to TV, whereas in the past they would never do that.
Right.
But it also opens up sort of a cinematic universe. In the case of Breaking Bad, the sequel, Better Call Saul, in the same world, and it
Yes.
continues on.
My brother Bill was on Breaking Bad, and when I moved out here, they were shooting like the last two episodes of Breaking Bad. I couldn't get a hold of that,
Hmm.
and but I did book a role on Better Call Saul, and they told me on the day that they might bring my character back, that they love to do that, and that my character was the kind that might come back. And
Nice.
so I feel like Bill and I got our hands on maybe almost like the Godfather saga of my generation.
Mm-hmm.
I really think people will be watching Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul tens of years from now. I honestly believe that. So it means a hell of a lot to me to have in some small way, gotten my fingerprints on that,
Oh
and
yeah.
and with my brother too. It's very meaningful to me.
They're definitely going to be watching it and watching you two in it because I mean, my mom still watches Perry Mason episodes.
Right.
You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
don't get me started. I'm still watching, Spencer Tracy movies from before he was famous. So
Yeah.
the thing that I can now talk about, there was a movie that was up for 3 Oscars called Sicario a couple of years ago, starring Josh Brolin, Benicio del Toro, and Emily
Mhm.
Blunt.
Sure.
Now the second chapter, it's not a sequel, it's not a prequel, it's just an overlapping story with some of the same cast. I play a 4-star general, and I kind of explain to Josh Brolin and Matthew Modine what his dirty mission is going to be in the movie. So they pretty much can't cut me out because it's exposition. It's called Soldado. It comes out in a few months, and I'm very proud of my part in it.
Oh, I'm excited to see that. That's going to be great.
I'm in my trailer on the day on Soldado. Tap, tap, tap on the door. Yeah, man, what's up? Matthew Modine wants to know if you could come to his trailer and help run lines. Yeah, I believe I could do that.
Wow.
I was only vaguely aware that Modine was in the movie. I didn't know he was in my scene, possessive pronoun. So I went into his trailer, which was somewhat larger than mine, and
Yeah.
there's Josh Brolin, Catherine Keener, who was an Oscar nominee that I worked with years ago, Matthew
Wow.
Modine, and I don't remember who else. But we're running lines, and I'm like, it's one of those deals of I'm scared somebody's going to tap me on the shoulder and go, "What are you doing here?
Mhm.
This trailer's for real actors." So
That's amazing. And I'm sure the food's better on those big budget
Well,
productions.
look, I'm not really a lobster. I'm not really a lobster guy, Tim. But yeah, they did have lobster on the
Nice.
at the catering.
Wow.
No lobster on your shoot? What's up?
No, nope.
Hey, when I'm acting with Matthew Modine and Josh Brolin, I need to get my lobster on.
Right.
Hook me up.
You need stuff from the bottom of the ocean.
Well, I love your show and I love what you're doing, man. Truly, I'm impressed. And you're a wonderful guy. I've known you for years, and it makes me so happy to see you do what you're doing, man.
Well, thanks, man. And I'm always super excited when I hear you're on a new show or something like that, working on a new film.
When I see the breakdowns, Tim, you know what breakdowns are, but
Sure.
in case somebody doesn't, that's hey, we're shooting a new NBC pilot about Navy SEALs, and here are the 5 characters we're looking for local casting in Santa Fe for. I can look at the breakdowns, and I'm a little white-haired, middle-aged guy who went to college, so there are certain parts that I'm going to be read for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll look and I'll see, this is Joe. He's in his 50s, and he's a pissed-off, police captain who throws a hot-headed cop out of his office. I'm like, okay, I'll be reading for that. And I know that Ralph will, and I know that Steve will. And if they want the tall, handsome one, they'll hire Steve. And if they want the handlebar mustache guy, they'll hire Ralph. And if they want the one that looks like me, and I'll walk into the office, hey, Ralph, hey, Steve, what up, guys? And we don't even dislike each other. It's like, well, and the other thing, the world is so small here that if I get cast in Longmire, then I get removed from the competition. They don't have to worry about me next time they're up for Longmire because I've already punched that ticket.
Right.
So I've acted in Manhattan TV show, Preacher TV show, Better
Wow.
Call Saul, Longmire, and probably a few others I'm not thinking of.
All those shows are super popular, and
Yeah, man.
it's
good.
It's amazing. I know it's a different time and different place, but if you could speak to young Sherman getting his SAG card 1983, What bit of advice would you give him or a young actor today?
Oh man, get better at money.
Hmm.
Figure out how to have some money.
Yeah, that's important if you want to survive, right?
It's like breathing, man. You're not going to get. I mean, it's not anywhere near the whole story, but
Mm-hmm.
but you're not going to. I've finally figured out a hustle, Tim, and no two people have the same hustle if they're going to make it in this business,
Mm-hmm.
and make it. Show business is a walled city, like Rome. Is Rome a walled city? You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's a walled city, and once in a while a gap appears, and somebody slips through and gets inside the city, and then the gap closes behind them, and everybody goes, "Hey, where's the gap? I want in too." And you're like,
Right.
I don't know what to tell you." So everybody's hustle is different, and it's the fact that right now I'm working behind the scenes with the top dogs in the area of TV that I wish to be part of. That gives me enough dough to take a few months off and audition and write. That's what my hustle is right now in 2017. And I've been at this a minute, right?
Oh yeah.
And it also helps to be castable. I was a good actor in my 20s, but I was not castable. I'm about 5'6.5", and I was kind of pretty then, but kind of leading man looks ish.
I've seen pictures. Good looking guy.
Yeah, I did all right. But I couldn't get any film work. Now I look like the father of the shitty teenager, or I look like the crooked bank manager,
Mm-hmm.
or I look like the guy whose BMW gets stolen from him at gunpoint. And there's a role for me in every movie, every TV show. So I just waited it out. I survived and hung in there until I'm more castable. And now I've had 3 auditions for real projects here in this month. Real projects.
That's
and
fantastic.
I've got a new movie coming out, and there's mailbox money waiting for me every couple of weeks. So things are pretty groovy.
Yeah, man.
That's what I'd say to the kids is, it helps to not suck. Don't suck at acting. If you want to be an actor, be good at it. However you get there. But also, if you're so broke that you have to bust your ass 60 hours a week at a job that won't let you off for auditions, you can't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just a would have been.
Yeah, and I came from no money. Dad was a car salesman. Mom was a nurse. So there was no nest egg waiting for me. I had to figure it out.
Well, they would both be proud. A family of actors and musicians they produced.
You know what? You're damn right they would. I
Mm-hmm.
miss my parents every day, and they would be proud.
Well, I'm proud of you. And I want to thank you again, Sherman, for being on my podcast. It's so insightful and entertaining. And you're the best, man.
Oh, go on, Lumpy. Give me the business.
No, but really, I'm really excited. I can't wait to get this one up. And yeah, man, thanks.
A total pleasure, pal. Keep knocking him dead. I'm proud of you.
Well, that's that. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Feel free to go to the website and check out the show notes, indiefilmgrit.com. Follow us on Twitter @indiefilmgrit. And subscribe to us on iTunes. That'd really help us out. Before I go, let me ask you something. Do you have the courage, the passion, and the perseverance to make indie films? Do you have enough indie film grit?